Have you ever walked into a meeting with your CFO or CEO to talk about the health plan, only to feel like you're on the defensive? You're expected to explain rising costs, defend vendor choices, and somehow prove that the plan is strategic, all while knowing that the renewal packet in your hands doesn't tell the full story. What if instead you could walk in with confidence, armed with data, a clear roadmap, and a strategy that leadership actually wants to approve? I'm Rich from BeneSmart. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to present a health plan strategy that earns executive buy-in and positions you as the leader driving change. For most HR leaders, the annual health plan presentation feels like a losing battle. You walk in with your broker slide deck or a renewal spreadsheet. You talk about this year's increase, maybe a few tweaks to the plan design, and then you brace yourself for the CFO questions. Why are costs still going up? What's our risk exposure? What's the plan to fix it? The truth is, most presentations fail because they're built on reactive information, not strategy. They look backward, not forward. They don't show leadership how the plan aligns with the company's financial goals, supports its culture, or what's being done to control future costs. And when this happens, you lose control of the narrative. The CFO sees the health plan as an uncontrollable expense, and the CEO tunes out because there's no vision, just costs. Here's what your executive team expects when you present a health plan strategy: a clear story backed by data. And to tell that story, you're going to need 7 critical pieces of information. First, claims analysis to pinpoint where every dollar is leaking. Next, vendor evaluations with contract reviews to uncover misaligned incentives and poor performance. Third, you're going to want employee surveys and feedback to show what's driving retention and engagement. Fourth, you're going to need stakeholder input to align the plan with leadership's priorities. Fifth, you're going to want cost trend lines to illustrate where you've been and where you're headed. Number 6, KPIs tied to industry benchmarks to measure your current performance and track progress. And number 7, a 3 to 5 year roadmap to guide leadership through the long-term plan for improvement. If you have these, great, use them to build your case. But if you don't, you should be working with somebody who can deliver them. Because without this data, you're asking leadership to make decisions blind. Most companies let this information sit in silos. Claims buried with the TPA, contracts locked with the broker, and surveys scattered across HR. When you don't unify it, you're stuck reacting to renewals. When you do, you take control of the narrative and position yourself as the strategist, not the messenger. Now picture this. You walk into the executive meeting not with a renewal packet, but with a strategic story backed by data. You open with a simple truth. Our health plan is the second largest expense after payroll, and our analysis shows that we can reduce healthcare costs by 15 to 30% while improving benefits. Then you deliver a 3 to 5 year roadmap showing leadership how the plan evolves, KPIs tied to industry benchmarks to measure current performance and track future success, vendor evaluations with contract reviews revealing misaligned incentives, and employee feedback confirming which benefits drive retention and which fall short. Now the CFO sees risk quantified, and the CEO sees their culture supported. And instead of defending costs, you're leading a conversation about savings, retention, and strategic alignment. When you present this way, you're no longer asking for approval. You're presenting a business case leadership wants to execute. You've moved from being the person who reports costs to the person who drives outcomes. To get leadership on board, you need to organize your presentation in a way that's simple, strategic, and tied to business outcomes. Here's how to do it. First, start with the stakes. Lead with why this matters. Show what the health plan is costing now, and show how it's the company's second largest expense after payroll and how it's been trending over the last 3 to 5 years. Include a simple chart comparing your spend per employee to industry benchmarks. For example, you might have something that shows that our cost per employee is running at 25% higher than the industry average. If we stay on this path, that's an additional $1.8 million in spend over the next 3 years. Then present your findings. Bring your data together into a clear narrative. A claims analysis highlighting top cost drivers. Vendor evaluations with contract reviews showing where the incentives are misaligned. Employee feedback, what's working, what's not. Stakeholder feedback, get alignment with the company culture and priorities. You're going to want to use visuals, charts for claims, call outs for surveys, quotes, and a simple vendor scorecard to illustrate these gaps. Then, to bring it all together, tie your findings to business outcomes. Translate this data into financial and cultural impact, i.e. your cost per employee, turnover tied to benefits dissatisfaction, or financial risk exposure if nothing changes. For example, you might say 38% of our claims are tied to unmanaged chronic conditions, Addressing this represents a $400K annual savings opportunity. Then finally, propose a clear strategy. Now connect the solutions to the data that you presented. Show leadership how each step fixes a specific problem. Direct contracting to cut your facility costs. A pharmacy strategy to control your specialty drug spend, vendor realignment to remove hidden fees, or alternative funding, level funding or captives to align your risk and your reward. And then finally, close with a roadmap and KPIs. Finish by showing what happens next. Imagine if you had a 3 to 5 year roadmap that outlines milestones, vendor changes, cost containment initiatives, and risk mitigation steps, or KPIs tied to industry benchmarks so leadership can measure success along the way. When you end with a clear path forward, leadership doesn't see just a plan. They see progress that they can track. Don't walk into your next executive meeting with just a renewal packet. Walk in with a strategic story to tell backed by data. One that makes leadership lean forward instead of tune out. When you present it this way, you're not just explaining costs, you're leading a business strategy that drives measurable savings, supports the company's culture, and positions you as a strategic partner to the C-suite. If you don't have access to the data or the tools, claims analysis or vendor evaluations, or a way to build that 3 to 5 year roadmap, you should work with someone who can deliver it. At BeneSmart, we help mid-size employers turn data into action and action into savings. If you're ready to change the conversation, reach out and let's build your strategy together. Stop presenting health plans as an uncontrollable expense. You have the power to lead with data, cultural alignment, and a clear roadmap. Use this framework to prepare your next presentation or partner with experts who can help you build it. I'm Rich from BeneSmart. Let's transform how your leadership sees the health plan decision.